Hello, доброго вечера, good evening, my friends. How are you doing? How was your February? What did you read? How many books did you read? What were your favorites? Please tell me everything. Okay, so now for my wrap up. I read 13 books in February, and I think it was a pretty good reading month. I participated in the 72 Hours in the Haunted House readathon, and I read some... Excuse me? And I read some great books. During the readathon. I read some great books outside the readathon, and now I'm going to talk about them, tell you my ratings, and stuff like that. Right, so I don't have all the physical copies with me, so some of them are on the list here. The first one I read was Peril at End House by Agatha Christie. It's the one of the next ones in the Poirot series that I'm reading. I gave it 4 stars. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I liked the plot twist, liked the characters. Poirot is a delight as always. It's just a great time. Almost all the Poirot books I read are a high rating for me. I love them so much. The next one is this one, The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Edison. Yes, this was for a book club from the Castle Library by Princess. This cover is really reflective, but it's really nice. 5 stars. Amazing. This is a political court intrigue book. It's about Maya. He is a half goblin, half elven heir to the throne of this country. I already forgot all the names because they are so complicated. But he is the only surviving heir after the whole family, the emperor and all of his heirs, die in a Zeppelin crash. So he's 19 years old and he needs to become emperor quickly. He's been raised outside of court. He doesn't know anything about ruling a country. He doesn't know how to be in society. He doesn't have the etiquette and stuff like that. But he's a very good person and he wants to do the best by his people. And let me tell you, never did I think that a political court intrigue book is gonna make me cry. This was lovely, but it was quite dry. So like if you like a more, action-y book, fantasy book, then I don't think you're gonna enjoy this. This was very action-packed, but it was all very calm. There was a lot of intrigue inside the court. There was a lot of him learning how to be an emperor. There was a lot of him building interpersonal relationships and finding out about his ancestry and about just how to be a person inside all of this new environment that he's thrust into. This is a standalone fantasy book, so if you're feeling like a standalone fantasy, this is a great choice, I think. But again, it's a bit dry. So like if you like fast-paced young adult fantasy, you're not gonna enjoy this because it's not like that. There are 2 companion novels that follow a different character from this novel if you want to keep going in this world. I don't feel like I do, but if I see them like in a thrift shop somewhere, I'm gonna buy them because I really enjoyed this world. Next one. Excuse me, page turned. The next book I read was Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, again, the next one in the Poirot series. Yes, okay, it's brilliant. 5 stars. This is amazing. This was great. The thing is, about the Orient Express, is that I knew the plot twist. I've seen the Poirot TV series with David Suchet. I watched it with my mom all through my childhood. So I know the plot twist specifically for this one because there were many movies made out of this specific book. So I remember the plot twist pretty well, but I still couldn't remember like the motivations and all the different characters. And this was really well done. Like, this was great. This was amazing. This was emotional. I loved it. 5 stars. This is about Poirot. He's traveling on the Orient Express. He needs to I don't remember the path of the Orient Express, but he needs to get to London or Paris pretty quickly, so he goes on the Orient Express. And there's a murder in the middle of the night, and the person who gets murdered, he approaches Poirot at the very beginning and says, "I am being attempted on. My life is in danger. You need to protect me." And Poirot's like, "No, get bent." And then this person gets murdered, and Poirot's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll investigate." Why am I talking about it like this? Like, if Agatha Christie heard me describing this book like that, she'd probably faint, okay? Moving on. The next one is Murder in Three Acts by Agatha Christie. The next one about Poirot, it's 3 stars. My problem with it is that I read an ebook and it had this old vintage cover. I couldn't even find it, like when I was looking online specifically for this cover, but I'm not going to show it to you because in case you want to read it, the vintage cover gives away the plot twist. Like immediately when I started to read in the first 20 pages, I was like, I know who the murderer is because it's given away on the cover. Like the illustration perfectly describes what happens in the book with the plot twist revealed. I don't understand, like who does that? And so I gave it 3 stars. And then the book number 5, Murder in the Clouds, 3 stars as well, gives the plot twist on the cover. This is a different cover because I don't want to give the plot twist away for you in case you want to read the Poirot books. But who does that? I'm so mad about it. Why would you create an illustration that perfectly recreates the plot twist of a mystery novel? What is wrong with people? Moving on, okay? That was not fun for me. Okay, book number 6 is The Story of a Shipwrecked Sailor by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This was for a vlog I did where I'm reading books bought to me by squirting poison into my body by getting my COVID vaccine. That's the reference to a comment I got on that video of somebody saying that I just squirted poison into my body and I need to look up how to get rid of the vaccine. Amazing. Never met a real anti-vaxxer before. 5 stars. This is a non-fiction account of what happened to Luis Alejandro Velasco, who fell overboard from the Caldas, a destroyer ship that shouldn't have had cargo on it, but did anyway. He and 8 other crew members fell overboard, and he was the only one who survived for 10 days on a life raft. 4 days after they fell overboard, the search was stopped, and he wasn't supposed to survive, but he did anyway. He was regaled as a hero. He got a lot of money from like advertisements, advertising the shoes he wore while he was overboard, the clock, the watch he had that never stopped. But then after a while, people forgot about him and like kind of cast him aside. So he went to Marquez to tell his story. Marquez was a really young journalist in El Espectador at the moment, and he wrote it down. And only in the 1970s, this was published under Marquez's name, and that's when it became popular. But it's brilliant. It's genuinely one of the scariest things I've ever read, because you read about this man on a life raft, surrounded by sharks, surrounded by water, and you don't know like if he's going to survive, if he's ever going to be found, how he's going to die, what's going to happen to him. His skin is burnt, everything's awful, and it's so fucking scary. Like if you're afraid of water, don't read this. If you're not, read this. It's glorious. Number 7, Insomnia by Sarah Pinborough. I still hate this fucking cover, but I gave this 4.5 stars. This was for the 72 Hours in a Haunted House readathon. I am so happy that this was as batshit crazy as Behind Her Eyes. Like, I know that might be a slight spoiler saying that, but if you liked Behind Her Eyes and you hated Dead to Her like everybody else did, read this one. It goes back to the brilliance of Behind Her Eyes, and it makes a reference to it that made me scream on camera. It was so good. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed this. This is about a woman who is approaching her 40th birthday, and she starts getting signs that her mother experienced before her 40th birthday. Her mother went mad on her 40th birthday and tried to kill her little sister. So that like follows her around her life, and she's trying to pretend it never happened, so that she doesn't have to deal with it in her own life. But the closer she gets to her birthday, the more she thinks that she's going insane. And one of the symptoms is insomnia. She cannot get to sleep. This was a trip, but I enjoyed it immensely. And while I was reading this, I was really mad at a lot of characters. And I kept like, in my vlog, I kept saying like, all of these characters are gaslighting the main character, and it's making me so mad. And then when I went back to the blurbs, and Ian Rankin said, a gaslighting masterclass. And it is. Like, you read this and you're so mad on the behalf of the main character. This was, an experience. Okay, next one was number 8. Was Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Yes. 3 stars. It was fine. I'm not going to continue in the series. Who cares? It's about a group of 4 women who are all scientists. One of them's a surveyor, one of them's a biologist, there's a anthropologist, and like somebody else. I don't even remember because I couldn't care less. They are dispatched into something called the Area X, which is this area that's surrounded by an invisible barrier, and the nature inside it is going crazy. Something insane is happening there. Nobody knows why it's mutating like that. And the people that are being sent there, they are either disappearing or they're returning, and there's just something not quite right with them. And the main character, she's the biologist. Her husband was on the previous team. He came back and there was something wrong with him. So she goes into the area to find out what happened to him. It was very surreal, abstract horror. There were certain things that were not abstract in the least, like they were concrete and very much physical. So like if you don't like gore, if you don't like body horror, you're probably not gonna enjoy this, like things growing and stuff. But other than that, it was very much like, what is going on? And while I like that, I like an ambiguous story where it's more of an abstract horror, you don't understand specifically what's going on. It was a little bit annoying because the way characters interacted with each other, these supposedly highly trained specialists that underwent rigorous training before they went into Area X acted like 12-year-old children towards each other. And it just completely threw me out of the story. Like when they started bickering out of nowhere just because they don't like each other personally, like I get it. You don't necessarily like people that you have to work with. That's completely normal. But when you're a highly trained specialist, you're going on a dangerous mission. You have guns with you. You are in a completely alien environment. You're gonna need to build interpersonal relationships and not act like a hormonal little bitch. So, that really just ground my gears. So yeah, I don't really care about continuing the series. It wasn't interesting. I read a bunch of reviews and people are saying that it just descends into madness. And like, not the kind of madness that you'd enjoy, but just nothing happens. And it's just boring. So I'm not really interested anyway to find out what's going on. So, moving on. Number 9 is The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. I gave this 4 stars, like a high 4.5 maybe. This was really fun. This is for the readathon as well. This is about a woman called Kara who, after her divorce, has to move back to her hometown. And instead of moving in with her mother, who she's got a complicated relationship with, she moves with her uncle Earl, who has a curiosity museum. Think like the Mystery Shack from Gravity Falls. And he's this kind of very interesting person who believes in everything. He believes in God. He believes in like Bigfoot. He believes in the Illuminati. Everything crazy. And, like traditionally believed in. He believes. And he's incredibly kind to everybody. Just such a fun person to read about. And I would love to see more of him in this book, actually. And when he has to undergo a knee surgery, she has to take over the shop. She and her friend from the coffee shop next door find this crazy space in the wall inside the museum. And very, very scary things start to happen from there. This was genuinely scary. This was scary and weird, and like, this also went under cosmic horror. There was also a cat in this who I loved, and every single time the cat was like threatened, I was thinking, if something happens to the cat, I'm going to set this fucking book on fire. But it was fine in the end. Everything was okay. The cat's okay. The cat does not suffer. Like, if you're afraid, the cat is not gonna be injured in any way. Everything's gonna be fine. And this was really fun. Also, incredibly funny. This was really funny. And it's kind of an experience when something that's so viscerally scary is also making you laugh out loud. It's very interesting. I'm going to 100% pick up more from T. Kingfisher. I actually cannot wait to read more from her. So yes, this was a great little fun mystery horror. Next, we've got The Golden Apples of the Sun. Where is it? It's here. 4 stars, like 3.75. I really love Ray Bradbury. I read some of these short stories before in different collections, like the best of Ray Bradbury. The best according to whom? Like, who are you that you're plucking stories out of the collections that he himself compiled and putting them into this no-name collection? Sorry, that makes me really mad. But yeah, so it took me not a long time because I read most of these before. This is really fun. Like, The Sound of Thunder is from this collection. Couple of these stories were just literally like 2.5 pages long, and they were just about this guy who lost his visa and has to leave the country and go back to his home country, and just like him saying goodbye to his landlady. But some of them were about horrific, like, sci-fi things happening. So Bradbury was a very versatile writer, and I understand why a lot of people in modern times don't like him or cannot get into him, but I grew up with this writer, so he's still one of my favorites, and I love going back to his short stories and rereading them. It's kind of like a comfort place for me. So yes, 4 stars. Moving on, The Midnight Library. Number 11. The Midnight Library, Matt Haig. This book made me so mad. I gave it 2 stars, and I'm honestly thinking that that was a bit too generous. How something that is supposed to be profound can be so sanctimoniously boring is beyond me. This was stupid and boring. It was just like, I just felt like somebody was standing above me and just saying, all you need is love. You just need to love yourself. You know, life is a beautiful journey. Live, love, laugh. I just wanted to take a fucking chainsaw to this book and to whoever said that this was good. I'm so sorry. I know a lot of people love this, but this was so friggin' bad. Especially because I read Matt Haig before, and he's a terrific writer. Also, this is a friggin' signed copy that I have. It's a special edition signed copy, and I'm mad about it because, like, I hate this book. Okay, this is about a woman whose name I don't even remember anymore. What's her name? I don't know. It doesn't say in the back because it's just like a fucking blurb. I don't even care what her name was. She's got a name, okay? So this woman is living a life that's falling apart. Her cat dies, she gets fired, like she doesn't have good relationships, and she decides to end it all. She takes a bunch of pills, and when she's supposed to die, she wakes up in a midnight library. This is a place, it's like limbo. There's a librarian there, and she says to her that you can take any of the books off the shelves with one condition, like you need to tell me what it is you want to change in your life. Like, for example, you can say anything. You can say, like, I bought red shoes last week. I want a book. I want a life. Or I bought green shoes instead, and just see what changed. So she starts picking books off the shelves and seeing what would have happened if she made different choices in her life to see if her regrets could be restored. The ending was predictable as hell. This was stupid and boring. Again, I'm gonna say this. This was stupid, preachy, and boring. I'm so mad. I am so mad about it. I'm sorry, but I'm so angry. But, you know what? I still bought this for my mom because I think she's gonna like it. That doesn't make any sense, does it? But, you know. The ending especially made me so friggin' mad. I just want to throw it at someone, you know? I just want to throw it at Matt Haig and be like, what happened? What happened to you, dude? Especially since, like, and he's talking about it in the end, because I feel bad because I read the afterword and he says, this is a very personal book for me. This was very hard to write because I wrote about my personal journey with mental health struggles and struggling to want to live. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I understand. I know what mental health struggles is. I know what it is like to be wanting to, you know, peace out. But what happened? Why this book? It was just like slapped together. I'm so sorry. It was terrible. I'm so fucking mad about it. Let's just move on because I'm gonna rant forever. Okay. Number 12 was The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, and I gave this 5 stars. This was amazing. This was really good. This was about childhood, about growing up, about what it is to be a child and letting go of your childhood fears and having them still haunt you in adulthood. And I think if you liked The Graveyard Book, you're going to like this, from the same author, obviously. I also have a couple of recommendations for anybody who liked this book, but there's going to be a separate video for that. This is about a man who is coming from a funeral of a family member, and he goes back to his childhood house and starts to remember what happened to him when he was a kid. And the things that happened to him are magic and scary. And when he remembers them, he's just there like, huh, I remember it completely differently, you know. And it's just about how differently we do remember our childhood, especially when it was traumatic. But it's also, it can be seen as just a scary fantasy story as well. But because I can never not look beyond what is on the surface, I have to talk about what else I think it is about, you know, just thump it on the head, somebody. Okay, yes, so fantastic. This was great. This was sad and beautiful, and I really, really, really liked it. And then the last book, number 13, is The Epic of Gilgamesh. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. I didn't rate it because it's literally the first written thing in the world. I mean, how do you rate that? You know, it's hard to talk about because what do you say about it? Like, it's literally the first written thing we have. This is about Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, a city somewhere in Asia that was never actually found, but that was mentioned in a lot of writings. He's the OG Giga Chad, you know. His story is just about him looking for immortality. He befriends Enkidu, this man of the forest, man of the woods, and that when Enkidu dies, he starts to look for ways to become immortal because he fears death. A lot of the writing in the Epic of Gilgamesh is actually missing. There's a bunch of different translations. You can find them all online, obviously. It's all for free. There's a few of them on the Gutenberg website, so you can go there and see. There's a few audio versions on YouTube, you know, like, and it's 50 pages. You can read it tonight. So, in a few places, it literally just says 40 lines are missing here because it was all just written on stone tablets. So we don't know what most of it even was. Like, if we had the entire text, maybe the whole sense of it would have changed. But, you know, we have what we have. And it was interesting. It was interesting to see how first narrative writing that we know of was done. And just to wonder what it could have been. And just to see how it evolved through history to where we are today. So yeah, that was it. That was my 13 books of February. I think I did pretty well. I didn't finish a few of my original TBR, but I think that's okay. It was a short month and I had a lot to do. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Please let me know what you read in February, what you liked, what you didn't like, if you agree with any of my ratings, or if you want to yell at me for some of my ratings, specifically for the Midnight Library. I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Slava Ukraini!